Hello all, my name is Sachin. Today we will see attaching block volume to EC2-Instance. So let's go to the AWS console, and inside that we can see we are in the instances sections, in which we can see the two instances which are listed. One is in the running states and one is in the stop state. Let's connect to this running instance using EC2-Instance connect, which is a browser connect. Okay, now we are in the instance, so we can see or we can hit certain commands. Now the first command to check it out the existing block devices which is attached to the instance. So let me go to the existing block devices which are listed. So there is a command called as lsblk, and in which you can see this, there is one we can say storage volume, we can say xvda, in the name of xvda, which is listed out, and which has all the informations like what is the size of this particular storage device, which is of 8 GB. Okay, and there are some types, okay, partitions, and there are some mount points actually where exactly this is mounted out, right? Okay, now what we need to do is we can also check, okay, with the list of partition tables for the particular attached volume. But what we will be doing, we'll be creating a new volume, okay, and which will be attaching to this instance, because as presently we have only one volume which is attached. This is xvda, right? Now let me go to the EC2 part, and inside that we have a elastic block store, and inside the elastic block store we have a options called as volume. So let me click on this option, and yes, there are two volumes which are listed out. Volume ID are also there, and there is a type of the volume, and there is a size of volume which is 8 GB. So I think it is as a default volume which is created for these two instances which are running, right? So let me click on a create volume, and inside a create volume dashboards I have options called as selecting a volume type. So volume type is basically based on the needs of IOPS speed. So yes, there is a general purpose SSDs and all. So yes, let's go with the default one, that is GP3. So these types we will discuss this later in the storage section. Then we have a size called as of 800 1 GB to maximum 16 GB 384 we can go. So let me choose a size of 10 GB, and I'll be going with the default IOPS and the throughput which is mentioned as a minimum. Then the next point is availability zone. So availability zone is actually where we will be creating this volume, and if the instances are running in a particular availability zone only, we will be allowed to attach this volume to this instance. So let's check that our EC2 instance is a part of, let's see which availability zone. So let me click on my EC2 instance dashboard once again. Let me select the Ubuntu, and inside the networking section we will be getting to know that this particular instance is launched in availability zone AP South 1B, right? So coming to the EC2 instance creation wizard, so where we will be selecting this volume to be a part of availability zone 1B, right? And snapshots I will not be touching right away, okay, even though we can increase this volume also, but presently we are not going with this option. Yes, we can specify a tag to this volume, okay, something called as a name, as I'll say this is an extra volume, fine, just to nomenclate this. And let me click on a create volume. Now you can see inside the list of volumes, you can see there is a volume which is listed out as an extra one. So let me select or click on this volume. Now I can see that the status check is okay, and there is an actions, okay, so in which I have an actions called as an attach volume. So presently this option is not enabled, okay, fine, now it is coming. So let me click on an attach volume. So I'll quickly select the instance which is running, to which I wanted to attach, and the device name. So this is what a device name, like we know that to this instance, and let's choose one custom device name. So I'll say xvdf and I'll say save it. Okay, so volume device name is selected, xvdf, and I'll say attach volume. Okay, now you can see this volume is listed out here. Okay, and now let's check, okay, to the EC2-Instance whether this volume is listed out. So by typing a command called as list block, here you can see this, there is a one volume which is attached called as xvdf and which is of 10 GB, right? So I can once again check the status, right? Okay, now going to the steps, like we have a certain steps to follow. Like first is obviously we'll be checking out the list of partitions inside this volume table. Okay, as such we haven't done any partitions. Okay, now we can create a particular file systems inside a volume also, and then we need to mount it actually, right? So let's go one by one. So creating a file system, okay, on this particular volume. So the command is mkfs, okay, then I'll say /t, and the partition, sorry, the file system type is ext4, and then the specific locations of the block device which is inside a device directory which is called as xvdf. Let's hit it. So obviously we need to use a sudo keyword, so say sudo. Okay, fine. So yes, there is allocating of group tables is done, and file system also. Let's check this particular thing using a command called as blk block id. So we'll be going with the specific let's see, file types. Here you can see this, so device xvdf, okay, is having a type of the file is called as ext4, right? So let's have lsblk. Okay, again we have this 10 GB, right? Okay, now next part is we have created a file system. So next is creating partitions inside. So first we'll go with the partition and then we'll go with the mount point. So creating a partitions using a fdisk command. So fdisk inside the particular device, fdisk, then inside a device we have a block called as xvdf. Hit the command. So obviously permission is denied, so we will be using a sudo keyword. Okay, now here I'll be choosing an options called as, let's see, going with the partitions by selecting n. Okay, now select which partition type we will be going with. So I'll say P, primary, and the partition number is 1. Okay, and the first sector which is default, that is 2048, I'll be selecting 20, and the last sector which I'll be going with of 2 GB, okay, because we have 10 GB of space for this volume. Fine. Then there is option, so let me just fine. So okay, fine. So there is an option called as m. So I'll say write for this partition changes. Okay, now the partition table has been altered. So let me click on a clear. Now coming to the actual window, now let's hit the lsblk command, and here you can see this, there is one partition of 2 GB which is created, right? Fine. So now we need to save the particular, let's see, files inside this volume. So for that we need to create a directory, okay, inside a mount directory, okay, inside a root directory, and then we'll be creating any one of the files inside that directory. So let's go with this part. So the creating a directory command is mkdir, okay, inside an A. So let's sudo mount, okay, and my device xvdf, so then my mount directory of my volume. Okay, so there is an error, so we need to check the file systems on dev. The file systems on dev is using a block id commands, plkid, and for the device block called as xvdf. Okay, so there is a dos command, so let me go with the sudo mkfs /d ext4, and then I'll be creating file. Okay, so should I proceed with yes? Now I'll be checking with the block id. Yes, now this is the type ext. So let's go with the mount command once again. Now it is successful. So this we can check the mount directory using this command df-h, and yes, here you can see this. For this particular block we are having a mountain directory also, even though we can check inside an lsblk command also. Here also you can get to see that there is a mount directory. Okay, but the partitions which was mentioned is not there, so let's do it once again. fdisk /device /xvdf sudo, and I'll say number of partitions. I'll be going with the p partition, primary, then partition number is 1, then default is 2048. Okay, then the size of the partitions of it is of 2 GB. Okay, then I supposed to say W for writing changes. Now it's done. Now let's check any partition is there. Fine, right? So we have a partitions also of 2 GB, as well as there is a mount directory. So let's go ahead to the mount directory, cd /my volume. Okay, now inside this there is one configurations file. So let's create a one file called as touch file 1. Yes, permission denied, so use a sudo keyword. Fine. So here there is a file 1 which is created inside a mount directory. Means exactly in this particular volume we can store our data. So okay, so that's it for attaching the EC2 volumes, you can say. Okay, so these are the, we can say, commands. So one is identifying the block, then listing out the partitions table, then creating a file system, and then create a one directory, and then there is a mount directory command. And if you wanted to create any partitions inside a particular device block, then you can use this fdisk command and then specified options, and then finally W for writing changes, and then you can verify the mount point using df-h command. So this way we have attached, okay, volume. What we will be removing this volume, so let's use the command called as lsplk. Okay, now we're supposed to remove it, so let's go and click on an action. So there is a fork detach, so I'll say detach once we are done. Okay, now if it is successful, let's check. Yes, now there is no any block called as xvdf after detaching it. Once the detachment is done, so you can select that block and you can say delete. So As your work is done, so you can delete this. Now there will be only single block and nothing is there, so this will be removed also. So that's it for today. Today's this block volume attachment assignments. Okay, now the next parts we'll see there are other storage options also in AWS called as